Are you just waiting to find out what happens to our protagonist Rincewind ever since the end of Sorcery? If so, then today's book just might be for you. Today, I will be covering Eric by Terry Pratchett. Welcome to Spencer Reads Everything. I'm your host, Spencer Duncan, and today we're taking a look at the 9th book in the Discworld series, and I believe the 4th book overall in the Rincewind subs-series. This book, Eric, is so titled. If you look at the covers for this book, usually it has the word Faust scratched out and then Eric written underneath. That is because this book is clearly a parody of the book Faust, and it immediately follows the events of Sorcery, which, as you may recall, at the end of Sorcery, Rincewind had sacrificed himself, and you find out that he is actually trapped in some kind of dungeon dimensions. And what happens at the beginning of this book is that he is going to accidentally be summoned by a 13-year-old demonologist named Eric Thursley. Of course, a overly simplistic name on purpose, kind of a reverse commentary on the name of Faust. And he's going to be really disappointed that Rincewind, who he was expecting to be a demon that could grant his wishes, is, well, Rincewind. And as you recall, Rincewind is quite terrible at magic and clearly incapable of granting wishes. At least that is what you would expect. However, Rincewind soon discovers that if he snaps his fingers, he does in fact actually grant Eric's wishes. So then Eric's first wish is to, naturally, as any 13-year-old boy would say, be ruler of the world. So then Rincewind and Eric are then transported to the rainforests of Klotch, to the Tezuman Empire, which is clearly a reference to the Aztecs, and there the locals are immediately going to declare Eric their ruler, but they also soon discover that being the ruler of the world comes with a pretty grim fate, as the Tezuman actually blame all of their problems on the ruler. That is one of the things that you can do with a ruler, is blame all of your problems regardless on him. And therefore they are actually going to be sacrificed. But before they can be sacrificed, the god Quetzalcoatl, I think that's how you say it, it's clearly a reference to the Aztec god Quetzalcoatl. He is going to arrive for the sacrifice, but Rincewind's luggage is going to land on him and kill him, which, again, I love Rincewind's luggage. It's one of my favorite elements, not just within the Rincewind story, but in really all of Discworld. This just inexplicable sapient pearwood luggage with all these legs. When they kill the Tezuman god, they are actually going to escape Rincewind, Eric, and then they meet another fellow prisoner, Ponce de Corm, which also a play on the name Ponce de Leon, and they're all going to be set free. Eric's second wish is then going to be to meet the most beautiful woman in history. So again, they are going to be transported into a large wooden horse, which is clearly a parody of the Trojan War. And as they exit this large wooden horse, they are going to be mistaken for part of the amphibian invasion by the Sortian soldiers. And after escaping all the confusion, they're going to meet Laviolus, a man who built the horse, and he leads them back into Zort through a secret passage where they finally meet Eleanor, clearly a reference to Helen of Troy. And Eric and Laviolus are going to be disappointed to find that Eleanor is an ordinary, like, middle-aged woman who actually has several children, and she's far from the idealized beauty of the legend. So as the city of Sort is burning from the invasion, Laviolus and his men are going to head home, and Eric realizes that Laviolus's name translates to Rincer of Winds, suggesting that he may actually be an ancestor of our protagonist Rincewind. For his third wish, Eric is going to ask to live forever, and Rincewind accidentally transports them outside of time just before the creation of the universe, and so they meet the creator, who is very busy shaping the Discworld and soon realizes that living forever means existing throughout all of time, and so living from beginning to end. And to escape this eternal existence, Eric reverses the summoning spell, sending them both back to hell. And so then in hell, they find that the demon king Astagful, I don't know how to say it, it's deliberately impossible to say, which I think is playing on our perceptions of the things that would drive us crazy in hell. They discover that he has restructured Inferno into a bureaucratic nightmare. So again, impossible words to say and a never-ending bureaucracy. And he believes that the endless tedium is actually the ultimate torture. And so Rincewind, using his wit and just his experience from Unseen University and the tedium of the bureaucracy there, he's going to actually manage to outsmart the demons, and it's going to allow him and Eric to escape. And along the way, they're actually going to pass through the various levels of hell. Again, a reference to Dante's Inferno. And along the way, they're going to encounter just familiar faces like Ponce de Quirm and Laviolus, who guide them towards the exit of hell. It is eventually revealed that Rincewind's supposed demonic powers are part of a scheme by Lord Vassanejo, a demon lord plotting to overthrow Asvlogl, however you say it. And so by keeping Satan, or the Satan stand-in, distracted with Rincewind and Eric's antics, Vassanejo is going to build support for his rebellion. And just as Asvlogl, however you say it, catches up to Rincewind, Vassanejo announces that the Council of Demons has promoted Asvlogl to Supreme Life President of Hell. And this is actually going to trap him in the bureaucratic system he created. And so then Vassanejo then takes control of Hell and allows Rincewind and Eric to escape so they can spread stories about Hell's new order. And as they flee, they notice that the path they are running along is paved with cobblestones, each inscribed with good intentions. It's clearly not just a reference to Faust, but a commentary on a lot of classic works and classic tropes, which is a hallmark of the Discworld series. I think that this is one of the best in the Rincewind series. I've said it before, I think Rincewind is a completely relatable protagonist, someone who, although predominantly incompetent in most things he does, at least has a sense of self-preservation that usually helps him in a fix. But a lot of people don't like Rincewind, and I think this one just plays off of so many of the Discworld tropes so well that I think that it is one of the best in the Rincewind series, at least so far. There may be ones that I like better later. Who would I recommend this for? As always, I would have to recommend it for people that like fantasy, they like satire. In this case, they need that satire to be coupled with a dose of classic literature, particularly medieval literature, and playing on some of our tropes and understandings of the afterlife and divinity and just all the things that go with a lot of what was written in medieval times in regards to trying to make sense of the world, which is one of the things that Discworld is trying to do, even if its way of doing it is through parody and satire. This is deep in the series by this point. I think this is the 9th novel and like the 4th one of Rincewind, so I would have a hard time recommending this being anyone's first book in the series, but I do think that it does a much better job at making Rincewind one of the more likable characters. Even though they don't change him dramatically, I do think enough around this storyline goes a long ways in making at least this part of Rincewind's story a little more interesting. Who wouldn't I say this for? Well, people that don't like fantasy, people that don't like parody, and people that are not interested in essentially laughing at some of our most classic literary tropes and some of the greatest works in literary history. But otherwise, this book might be for you. However, if you have a difference of opinion, please let me know. Put it in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and until next time, keep those pages turning.